Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butz, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network. With more than 30 weekly podcasts, HRN has something for every food lover. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
This episode is brought to you by Visit Ithaca. Explore Ithaca's waterfalls, orchards, and craft beverage scene. Plan your getaway at visitithaca.com.
This episode is brought to you by 818 Tequila. Handcrafted, expert approved, with over 20 international blind tasting awards. 818 Tequila, imported by 818 Spirits, Manhasset, New York, 40% alcohol by volume. Drink responsibly.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes, finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Hello, welcome to Snacky Tunes. I am one of your hosts, Darren Bresnitz. Hope everyone is taking time to take space for themselves. It is a very heavy and complicated time in the world, so please remember to be kind to yourself, to check in with yourself, your friends, your family, your loved ones. We are going to get through this together. Today we sit down with Isabelle Legeron. You might know her as the founder of Raw Wine. And we talk about the return of the festivals, her lifelong dedication to educating people about natural wine, and how and what you can enjoy to drink this summer. And then we go deep into the Brooklyn archives to hear from WALTZ. It's a great performance, something we hope will lift your spirits on this Sunday or whenever you're listening. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN. Isabelle, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Welcome to Snacky Tunes, coming from the beautiful countryside of the UK. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
It
so
looks like a
much for.
very sunny, gorgeous day where you are.
Look, I think this is probably the hottest day that we've had so far this year. We've hit 27 Celsius, which I'm not sure what's that in Fahrenheit, but it's not that hot in Californian sort of terms. But for us, it's very hot. We feel very lucky whenever we can wear shorts and t-shirts in England. So we've got one of those days.
It's always nice. You're like, okay, I have 4 pieces of summer fashion. I'm breaking them out today. Crisp white in the glass. Very fun.
Absolutely. You never get rid of your winter wardrobe in the UK, that's for sure.
No, my family lives on the East Coast, and I just have the one bulky coat, hat, gloves that whenever I got to go back to Philadelphia during the winter, I was like, well, I'll pull these out. So congratulations on the return of the Raw Wine Festivals. It's been so amazing to see them happening all over the globe, especially since you were off for a couple of years. I was lucky enough to be at the one in Los Angeles. What's the feeling been from both the producers and then the patrons who are coming to the festival as you've rolled them out in the last few months?
Oh, look, it's so great to be back, on many, many levels. I mean, first of all, I run really an events business. Raw wine is obviously much more than events, but essentially, we kind of stopped working, for over 2 years, and I kept the team going. It's in total, it's 4.5, 5 of us working. So, everybody was so thrilled to be back on the road, back to seeing all the growers we work with super regularly, and obviously being able to see everybody attending, whether they're from the trade or wine lovers. So it was really amazing, so the first 2 fairs really we did this year were New York and LA back after the pandemic. I mean, we also had an event in Berlin in November, which was the weirdest event you would ever dream of attending, because we were actually the first event post-COVID. So we were the first event to close, when London closed. It was literally like 7 days before in 2020, 7 days before COVID was kind of officially announced. So we were the first casualty. And with Berlin, we reopened, I would say, the international wine fair calendar. But everybody had to wear a mask. The police was all over the venue, and people had to wear the mask, taste, wear the mask. Everybody had to be vaccinated. We had to test everybody before they entered the venue. So, there was a bit of a futuristic,
Sure.
like very weird, but the buzz was amazing. And in many senses, people, like the growers said, it was their best ever event. It was so busy and buzzy. It was very euphoric. And it was the same in New York and LA, in March this year. The events were smaller than what we're normally used to. But the buzz was incredible, and like the growers were so happy to be out and tasting and finally meeting people. So they were very special.
Yeah. And, I know that you've really dedicated your life to educating people about wine and natural wine, introducing them to it. This must have been such a great reminder to see people come out and be so excited of why you picked your path in the wine world.
100%. It's we all the team and I felt so proud that we were able to put the show back on the road in a way, and be able to get all these connections going, with between the growers, the wine professionals, people who love wine, and I think I hadn't realized how much the growers actually missed being on the road until I really spoke to them when they came to the fair. And I think it was the same for them. I think everybody had this sense of, you realize actually we need this contact, in this day and age where everything is about, Zoom and all these
Yes.
all these
Yep.
platforms.
Yes. Yeah.
We're a bit fatigued, but we kind of think that everything is replaceable, and then you know, and to some extent it is. But I think when it's something like this, where if you think of growers, you know, a lot of them work solo, or they work quite in isolation, I would say, where they don't really meet that many like-minded people in their village. You know, they always
Mm-hmm.
tend to be the outsiders. So when they come to a place like LA or like New York, and they are like in this sea of people who love their work, it feels great. And we all need that, you know, because I think, you know, even though, of course, natural wine is, let's call it, you know, it's booming, you know, it's the growers are doing well, and everybody's really selling wine, and people are drinking a lot of natural wine. But still, you know, you I think it feels good to be reminded that there is a world out there who loves these wines.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
easy to forget, you know, when you go back to the vineyard and you get a little bit of, you know, there's frost, and you know, and then you don't see people, and it's actually your neighbors thinks you're completely crazy, and they want to grab your vines and all of that, which is a reality.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
we know there is this dual reality, and I think sometimes it's, you know, so yeah, it was needed. It was necessary. It is necessary.
I mean, it's such a social endeavor, especially this type of wine making, where it's not just you're growing grapes, they're going off to some sort of corporate giant vat somewhere. This is more like an art of distillation that you could apply to either music, or you could apply to cooking or something like this. And this is for people who want to go out and share what they've made with other people who really appreciate it. And when you don't have that
It's
social interaction for 2 years and you're sort of stuck at home, it can get very lonely.
for sure, and it's, you know, it's even more than that. You know, in a way, you know, these growers, and I was reminded of this when a couple of days ago I was in the southwest of France at Le Puy. You know, really a fantastic
Mm-hmm.
producer
Mm-hmm.
in Bordeaux. And then you're reminded that, you know, every single vine is treated as an individual, you know, as their children, as their child.
Mm-hmm.
So they are so focused on this, like you said, this art form, this respect for their living, that, you know, for them being able to share this, it's a bit like, you know, during COVID when you're stuck in the house. I mean, you've got kids. I've got a 2-year-old.
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
stuck in the house with these, you know, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and then suddenly you can go out and introduce your child to everybody. It's just it's a big deal.
So, obviously a lot of people drinking became sort of a way that they could deal with COVID, and booze sales were up, wine sales were up. But did that trickle down to the natural wine world, or did they have a different experience on the whole during the pandemic?
No, I think absolutely. It was. I think this model of online buying during COVID went through all, I would say, all categories, and natural wine was very much that. I think there was a very strong support, and I know. I mean, you're based in LA, and I think a lot of, you know, the natural wine shops did, you know, curbside sales, and I think there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
support for the
Mm-hmm.
businesses during the pandemic. But I know that online sales, you know, were booming. Online wine clubs specializing in natural wine, I know, also did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And things are changing now. People are going back to buying, you know, more at the shop, and you know, which is great, because drinking wine is also it's also a social endeavor. You know, it's nice to go out to speak to the people who pick the wines, discover more wines that way. But there's no doubt that the pandemic, was very successful for many online retail shops. Some growers, I know a lot of growers struggled because they were not able to meet their importers. They were not able to taste with them. So as a
Mm.
result, I know that some growers, had and still have some stocks of wine, so that they are now, working through. And that's where you realize that something like raw wine, where you can come and present your new vintage, plays a big part in also the commercialization of your wine.
So much of the making and selling a wine is it's nonstop. It is always, there's something always going on, and the world stopped for a lot of us for a couple of years, or forced us to be at home more, things like that. Did you see, or were there any producers who used that time to innovate or re-examine what they were making and come up with a new wine or new practice? Have you tasted anything that was grown in the last few years where you're like, wow, like this wouldn't have happened if we didn't have a whole world shift in the way that we look at movement and being around each other?
Yes, lots of innovation. I think people suddenly had the time. I mean, I'm sure it's the same, with a lot of us. It's the same with me. I was able to really rethink, in a way, my business and how we do things and change, making improvements and develop new ideas. And for growers, it's the same, because for the first time in a long time, they were able to stop this sort of this race, when you work in the vineyards and do the bottling and then go on the road to sell your wine. I mean, for example, one of the again, I mean, this is fresh in my head. So when I was at Le Puy, one of the experiments they're doing now, which is pretty awesome, is they're doing a collaboration with the Swiss university, and they've installed some sort of like a weather station in one of the vineyards, but it's a weather station that captures spores. So they are able to detect whenever there is an onset of oidium, for example, which is a fungus, where there's oidium spores in the air. It tells them that suddenly, and they get the feed on their mobile phone. The person who's in charge of the vineyards has the feed on his mobile phone all the time, and then he's able to say, "Oh my God, there's some spores in the air. Let's look at what we can do." So and they were able to sort of develop that because they were a lot more peaceful, and they had the time to sort of to develop partnerships like this. So I think tons of people I realize that maybe they don't need to travel so much. So I think now growers are also a little bit more, they've taken a step out, and I think people are enjoying the kind of slightly slower pace.
I've seen that with wine fairs, food fairs, art fairs, and things like that, with people being a little bit more discerning of where they go and when they go. It really felt that before, half your business was just being on the road and being somewhere, and now it's being able to be a little bit more picky and saying, I'm going to go to these 5 or 6 events, not all 24 of them, but when I'm there, I'm really going to show up, which was indicative of the people you had at Raw Wine, because I don't want to say the right winemakers, but the winemakers and the people I want to meet, I was like, oh, you're all here. You all came to this one.
Yes, I mean, it's true. The event in LA this year was so well attended. Anybody, I think, in LA to do with natural wine came to the event.
That's the better way to say it. Anybody who's anybody, not the right people. Yes. That's the classier way to say that. Yeah.
But anybody who who's really interested and came, and plus, I was really surprised. So some buyers who I would have thought, oh, they're a lot more in the traditional sort of stream of thinking and buying, also came. So that's also indicating that there's a change, and in a way we still have work to do. I think for me the really the bigger picture for raw wine and the reason why I started raw wine is because I believe that by it's like we can change the face of farming, right? We can change the face of viticulture, and one glass of organic, natural, biodynamic wine at a time, can have a big impact. And I don't want to stop at the usual suspects, people who always drink natural wine, people who you always see coming at fairs or buying the wines, joining the club. We have to expand. There are more and more growers who are converting to organics and also embracing more natural wine practices in the cellar. And so we have to keep going. It's not like, oh, that's it now, natural wine is super established. The bigger picture is the environment. We really need to engage growers who are farming conventionally. They need to be inspired. They need to see that there is a market out there, that people are interested. And of course, maybe this is a cynical way of looking at it, and maybe people are going to be doing it for marketing reasons, like converting to organic. But, at the end of the day, maybe that's okay, as long as they convert, as long as we can have an impact on the environment. I think it's only like 5 or 6% or maybe 7% of the world's vineyards are farmed organically or something like this in terms of, from an official perspective. So it's nothing.
I mean, I'll take organic farming even if it's served up with a side of cynicism. Sure, whatever you want to do, as long as we get to better farming practices, I'll take it. Whatever the approach is.
And that's the game. For me, it's a tough road. Things look very different now from they did 15 years ago, where we were the crazy ones and the outsiders and the people with the insane ideas and wasting our times. I mean, when I became a master of wine in 2009, and I really was able to focus on the stuff I love, which was organic biodynamic farming and natural winemaking, people were just calling me stupid. They said, you're wasting your career. You've worked so hard at becoming MW, and then now you're just wasting it by, going into this dark, obscure category. But for me, it was not a choice. This is just what I wanted to do. So things have changed now, but still we have, we still have millions of drinkers to convince.
Yes. Well, let's take a quick break. And I think part of the way that you're going to convince those drinkers is by the wine club that you just launched in the US, which I want to talk to you after the break. We have a song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on hrn.org.
This is where a river starts. Though I know nothing could be perfect, this places we pass through on our journey through the rapids, and then takes a turn. There's some bands it goes to, fresh water to salt. Now everyone controls you. Nothing could ever be stopped. Oh, back on you. And this is where we heard it all. Oh, after I implored you. Oh, in this river, it's a ride, and it's tied to our lives. Or we will all be returned to the ocean. No, never thought it was wrong. The river, yeah, got this.
HRN is home to transformative exchanges about food. We hope our diverse lineup of shows opens your eyes, educates, and empowers.
Thanks to HRN, I ventured into the world of cooking with sumac, and I have not looked back since.
I was listening to A Taste of the Past with my mom, and there was an episode about the history of American food. It inspired me to make it the subject of my final social studies project, and I ended up getting an A.
Join us during our summer membership drive by donating and becoming a member. Members play an essential role in keeping nonprofit food radio on the air. Go to heritageradionetwork.org/donate to become a member today. We thank you for your support.
Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We are here with Isabelle of the Raw Wine Festival and also Wine Club in the U.S. I was brought into drinking wine through people like Justin Chernow, for Horseman, and Jorge when he was at 10 Bells. And so to me, the only wine I really know is natural wine. Like I know there's other stuff out there, but I go, yeah, this is natural. Yep, put it in a bottle. It's sort of done its own thing. Let it be funky. Let it ferment. That is not most people. So I feel very lucky, and it's not very weird to me. It's not even weird. It's just like, this is just what I know of wine. I was like, oh, chilled red, serve it up. That is not the case with most wine drinkers. And I know that since education has been a part of your mission from day one, having a wine club seems like a natural fit. How did it come about? How is the education process? How are you getting people to buy in when they're like, I only drink a dry oaky Chardonnay that I got at Costco?
So you've had some great teachers.
I have been very lucky, and congratulations to Justin and all of them for the James Beard win. But yes, I feel very lucky for my teachers.
Yeah, indeed. Well, look, this wine club idea came about really from I had so many people come to me and say, look, we love what you do, and we'd love to be able to maybe drink more of that and have it available at home. A lot of people will come to the fairs in New York, LA, and we've done it in Miami as well. But sometimes people come actually quite far away, and they don't necessarily have access to good bottle stores. So the wine club really is a way of distilling all the stuff I taste. I taste a lot of wine every day for I do consultancy for some restaurants. Also, we have a wine shop in the UK, an online wine shop in the UK. So I'm always tasting, and so it was a way of for me picking six wines a month that I love. Then we interview the winemakers or the growers, and we find out how they made that wine. So there's a lot of information about each wine, which we make available to all the club members. And then the idea is to pick wines that collectively make a great bunch. They make a great tasting experience, and they're all. I'm not a big fan of very, very flawed wine. So, when I taste, I really taste for mouth. I make sure that the wine is really stable over a few days, and that they're really amazing examples of where they're from. So, and I also really focus on the farming. Obviously, the farming is really important. So the wine club is, it's basically 6 bottles every month, with tasting notes, interviews from the growers, and
oh my God,
loads of information. So it's a lot of fun.
That's so much fun. When you start talking about natural wine, and even if you know wine and, ordering it, talking about it, going to a store, it can feel very intimidating. What are some of the tips if people want to get more into natural wine when they go out to a restaurant or they're in a store? Like, what are some of the key words? What can they ask? How can they sort of work with people who know a lot about wine to get them into this world, for them not to feel so, afraid to talk about it or ask or say the wrong thing?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's something I actually feel very passionate about. I think we really focused on our intellect. When it comes to wine, we actually taste with our eyes, we taste with our head. We don't really taste with our stomach and our mouth, literally speaking. I think a lot of people, when they pick up a glass of wine, they look at the color and their mind is already made up as to what's what the wine is going to be tasting like. Whereas what I just really encourage, obviously when you walk into a wine store and it's a wine store that has a reputation for natural wine, I think just to have an open conversation and don't be afraid of saying to people, "Well, this is what I like," or even be open to any experience, because one of my best wine experiences where wines I tasted when I actually had zero expectation as to what I was expecting. So I think it's about keeping an open mind. And when you have a glass of wine in your hand and it's natural, it's alive, it can be different, and it's about tasting it like you're tasting wine for the first time. You pretend you don't know this drink at all. You just because when you drink cider or beer, you don't really have an expectation as to what tasting notes are going to come out of it, or you just enjoy it. When you have a piece of cheese, like a really great piece of cheese from a farmhouse cheese, you just enjoy it for what it is. And so I think the key is to just be very, I don't know, just trust your instinct and not be drawn into, one of the things that a little bit of my I would say, something I find a little bit annoying at the moment is that natural wine has become very fashionable. It's very Instagrammable. It looks very beautiful, with a light background, all these, orange colors, slightly cloudy colors, and so on. But I think, bottling, and that's what's happened, is that a lot of natural wines are bottled under clear glass at the moment, and which is really not very good for the environment, because you cannot produce a clear glass from recycled bottles. So every time you buy a bottle of natural wine under clear glass, it means that, yes, you're like embracing a movement that is very environmentally conscious and, all that, but you're also then saying, well, I don't care if people use recycled bottles or not. And the growers hate this, because the bottles are a lot more expensive. Obviously, they're a lot more costly to the environment, but that's what the market demands. So I think we need to start driving something a little bit smarter, and I think we need to realize that this has a big impact. So that's a little bit of something, if we could start changing that and not put the growers in that situation, that'd be. But equally, if a wine is bottled under clear glass, they'll sell 10 times as many bottles. So it's like, this is what the market wants, but it's just a crazy idea.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all know where the wine goes, right into our down the gullet. The bottle, though, especially after a big night, you're like, oh wow, like this is a dozen glass bottles that need to get recycled and then not reused. So it's got to be seen as a whole collective. I know that you're also working on a series with the BBC on soil, which I think is really interesting because, as we've seen in America a couple of years ago, there was a huge fire up north and a lot of wineries were affected, and climate change and the environment. There's no way, especially with the natural wine, that's not going to have an effect on the industry. What are you focusing on in this documentary? Is climate change a part of it? How do you see the whole ecosystem changing, affecting the industry?
Yes, so it's a series. It's a series on soil. So it's for the BBC World Service. It's really about understanding the importance of what's underneath our feet. It's one of the most unknown universe. It's teeming with life. It's also incredibly fragile, and it's what is partly responsible for obviously feeding the population. It's also a huge storage of carbon, which, if left undisturbed, is basically completely sequestered in the soil. So there's many aspects to soil, and I think that the thing for me that I'm really focusing on at the moment is education. I think it's all very well to knock back a glass of wine and have a lot of pleasure for it, but we also need to think about what that glass of wine represents and the farming conditions, and I think we need to start asking more and more questions, making sure that the wines really come from the grapes used in that wine are really farmed properly, and the the idea behind the series is actually not really a series about wine. A few days ago, I was up north in Scotland. I was looking at a 10,000-year-old forest, basically
Wow.
the original forests in England. After the glacial age, sort of disappeared in Britain. Then forest grew, and then we got rid of most of it. But the whole of the islands would have been carpeted, with these
Sure.
amazing trees. And then we dug the soil, we tasted the soil, and then we looked at, how much life and the organic matter, this sort of, this the fungi, the connections between the tree roots and in between it, between trees, and all of that web of life is incredibly important. And so this series, what I'm hoping will maybe I'm hoping that people will stop thinking that soil is dirt, that soil is dirty, but that soil is the source of life, and that we have to protect it for a lot of reasons. And I hope that people will start falling in love with it and feel immense respect for this world that is completely absent, because we never see it, but actually delivers so much. Even just like looking at your lawn and maybe not using weed killers, or welcoming different species in your lawn, because what you want is you want a vibrant lawn, which is alive and teeming with life underneath. But if you start using fungicides and other, weed killers and pesticides, then obviously you're killing life. So it's a really exciting series, and I was that's why I was traveling to Bordeaux also to look at what some growers were doing. Talking to people like Susan Simard, whose work on trees is quite incredible. So
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it'll be out in August.
Oh, in August. Oh, that's great. But I mean, we planted our first little garden in the back, and just to see things sprout. I mean, first off, I have a squash that's larger than my son that we just harvested, and you go like, oh my God, it's so. The connection is in the beauty. Even just a small little patch of land, you go like, oh, this is great. This is great, and just to take care of it and to treat it with care it's an important connection to have. And
it really is, it really is. And, I know there is, people are aware of the amazing energy trees have, and people, go around hugging trees. But take your shoes off, go and walk in the park barefoot, go in the forest barefoot, and just feel the connection and the energy. Put your hands in the soil, taste it. It's incredible. I never really, we dug this hole in the forest, and there were 4 strata, and then we tasted our way through them, and it was incredibly salty, full of iron. It was very, very much like fungus and almost like fresh fungus, the top layer, because it was all this fresh matter that had just been decomposed. It's incredible, really incredible.
It's amazing. So look, I would be remiss if I didn't ask for some summer recommendations for wine. I know everyone goes to rosé, and that's fine, but a couple of bottles that maybe we can get in the States if you're looking to have a nice drink after you've put your feet through some soil and you've studied a little bit about where the wine comes from and had a little education. Back porch, sun setting. What are we drinking?
Gosh, there is a. I mean, look, that's a tough call for anyone. I would. So some of the wines I've recently like really loved. There is this Chilean winery called Viñedos Herrera Alvarado in Marga, and they make great wines. They even have a wine which has been fermented in cow skin. The way it was done in the 16th century when they had nothing else but just cowhide. And they have this red wine which is, I think it's called Rojo Loco, which is like 11-12% alcohol. It's basically everything thrown in, and it was really the way that they were making wine a long time ago. Is basically whatever was in the vineyard collected at the same time, co-fermented, and this like really vibrant, juicy red. You drink it slightly chilled. Completely 0-0. So that's a really fun wine, but plenty of wine. It's not just like a glue wine. There's a lot of depth and complexity in there. What else?
Maybe a white. Is there a white that you've been drinking during the summer?
Yes, of course. I mean, millions. There's a winery I'm very fond of. In fact, they were in my inaugural April. We started the club in April, so it's like it's only been going 3 months. But there is a winery in Andalusia in the south of Spain called Mucha de Clapar. And they make wine with the Palomino grape, which is normally used for Jerez, for sherry. But they make unfortified wine, and their wines are they release their wines like now it's 2017, 2018. So they release their whites after I would say a decent amount of aging. And the whites are they're like, it's like being completely kissed by the sea. It's like when you're by the sea and you've been for a swim, and then you lick your lips and it's full of salt, of that really incredible salt. There's almost that floor, which is what sherry is very typical of, that biological aging. So it's there in the wine, because it's there everywhere in the region. I think it's part of like the hallmark. Everything, the whole farming is done, using horse plowing. Is very gentle. And the wines are incredible. They really take a lot of time to open. They're salty, they're deep, they're fresh, they're mineral. But the more they sit in the glass, the more layers are coming through. So for me, they're really profound wines. And they come yet from a very unusual parts of Spain, which is known for fortified, aperitif. But there's a new generation of growers in that part of the world who are reclaiming these amazing terroir and these amazing grapes and doing something which I think in my opinion is actually a lot more interesting than just putting everything in huge vats or in huge in barrels and creating sherry, because that's been the tradition.
It's been done. Well, Isabelle, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with us. If people want to check out the Wine Club in the US, the Wine Shop in the UK, get information on the festivals, all the amazing stuff you're doing, read some of your writing, where can they go?
So everything is on our website. So it's rawwine.com, rawwine.com. There'll be stuff about the club, the shop, but also we have an amazing learn section, which is our blog area. And we organized recently a big digital conference on the life of plants and how plants are alive. And we have about 35 hours of amazing speakers, Suzanne Simard, really top writers, and everything is available online now to be streamed. This incredible content, all the videos are there. So there's a lot of info there.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me on the program.
Oh my God, thank you so much, and thank you for having me at the fair. I can't wait to come back when you're in LA. We have a song from the. Oh, wait, you'll be there when?
Yeah, we'll be there in November. So we're back in November. Mm-hmm.
Yep, November will be fantastic. We have a song from the archives and then a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on hrn.org.
Yeah. I had this feeling that I had bent up on the inside. The floor to the ceiling had my body reeling, that's why I go hot and cold, pull me close, my temperature rising. I say, give me your touch, you're getting warmer. Hot and cold, pull me close. One hit, one wonder, one hit, one wonder, one hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder, one hit, one wonder. You're mine. It's a look that you give me, I see it deep in your eyes, like a force of nature that I'm too weak to deny. If my body language is your consolation to pass the time, let's put it in motion. I'm secretly hoping that's why I go hide and go away. Pull me close, my temperature rising. I say, give me your touch. You're getting warmer. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. You're mine. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. You're mine. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. You're mine. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. One hit, one wonder. Give me your touch. Yeah, yeah. Give me your touch. One hit, one wonder. 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 Give me your touch. You're getting warmer. Yeah, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Visit Ithaca, helping you to plan your next getaway. Ithaca has waterfalls and wineries, art and theater, outdoor recreation, and family fun. The area is famous for its glacier-carved gorges, co-op-run businesses, and cultural influences from Cornell University and Ithaca College. The area is well known for its local cideries, which are leading the way in America's cider revival. You can hear from the region's cider makers directly on HRN's series Hardcore. There is something really special about Ithaca's climate for cultivating delicious apples steeped in history and terroir. The second season of Hardcore is out now. You can learn all about apples and fermentation and dive into how cider makers and their communities are working to create an equitable industry and one that is resilient to climate change. Listen to Hardcore on your favorite podcast app.
This episode is brought to you by 818 Tequila. 818 creates their tequila using traditional methods at a family-owned and operated distillery in Jalisco, Mexico. 818 is created from fully matured blue agave from the Los Altos and Valles regions of tequila. It is then slow-cooked for over 30 hours, extracted using traditional Tahona wheels, distilled twice in copper pot stills, and aged in American and French oak barrels. This process creates the best-tasting, highest-quality tequila possible. Their tequilas have received over 20 blind tasting awards. They strive for excellence in every sip. 818's Blanco is sweet and smooth, with undertones of tropical and citrus fruits. Their Reposado is soft and balanced with notes of caramel and vanilla. Their Añejo is elegant and velvety, with crisp herbal notes and a warm vanilla finish. Visit drink818.com to learn more about their tequila and find it near you. 818 Tequila, imported by 818 Spirits, Manhasset, New York, 40% alcohol by volume. Drink responsibly.
We got WALTZ live in studio. Welcome, boys.
Hello, thank you.
It's good to have you here on this early August breezy weekend. What's really great about the project is that there's a really strong aesthetic that comes with what you're doing, and
curious where that comes from and what some of your influences are.
I suppose it's from certain theatrics. I'm not sure. I like sequins and extravagant garments, I suppose. But yeah, for more than anything, it's just to have a bit of fun, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know that part of the upcoming release in the fall is a feature-length film. Where did the inspiration for that come, and how did you put that together in connection with the album?
Well, the album was done first. We tracked upstate New Paltz with Kevin McMahon, and we had like 12 tracks, and then we started to develop video content, and then it sort of grew into this monstrosity 65-minute VHS film. So it sort of started with a small piece, and then eventually became much bigger, you know.
What was the decision to jump from like, okay, we'll do a small thing, to like, yeah, we're going to just set this whole thing to video?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that just sort of happened over time as it developed. It felt a little cheap to just put off a couple tracks as videos. We felt more inspired to make a full-length sort of body of work that we could sort of, you know, really tell a few different stories in, instead of just kind of making videos for the singles.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few clips for the upcoming movie, but what are some of the stories that you're focusing on for the videos, or what's the narrative that you're telling?
Yeah, it's a little strange. I suppose essentially it's a workout exercise manual, sort of set in 1984. So it's one of those sort of throwback pop. It's a collection, I suppose, of VHS is essentially the focus point for me. It was like really sort of creating something that was a piece of time, you know, and something that I appreciated from that era. Like I like those old, really hyper cheesy visuals that come with the 80s, you know. So we kind of essentially built this 65-minute version of that.
Any particular favorite exercises that came from that, or exercises that didn't work, that didn't make the cut?
Well, I'm trying to think of the name of the tool. The Thigh Master was one of the highlights for me personally. Yeah, it was exciting. It's actually quite difficult.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
They make it look so easy on TV.
No, it's not easy at all. It's very difficult.
What are some of the tips for using the Thigh Master as a pro now?
Control, I suppose. Yeah. Well, they're not very stable. It's very sort of, you know, you'd imagine that it'd just be a matter of sort of control and motion, and it's not the case. The things are very, very janky. You end up sort of doing more damage than good. Now, this is not supporting the Thigh Master in any way, but I do, you know, it was a good thing to try. It looks good. That's the main thing for us. It was more of a visual.
Visually, it's stunning. I would think that the rubber on the skin would hold it in place.
Yeah, but then you get sweaty, you see, and then it starts to slide out of place, and then you know, and then it ends up like a spring.
Yeah,
actually quite dangerous.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we hear a song, and why don't you tell us what exercise our listeners should be doing while listening to the song?
Well, why not try the Thigh Master to this one?
Okay, great. And you're listening to WALTZ live on Snacky Tunes. Awesome. Hope no one got injured out there with a Thighmaster.
Me too.
So I know that you recorded the record upstate. What was the process like, and being a bit removed from the city and putting the record together?
It was the middle of winter and miserable in that sense, although great at the same time. However, it was very cold. So it was we were tracking to tape, which is just not worth it. But yeah, so we had like 15 minutes in, 15 minutes out, just to kind of warm up physically. But it was one of those things where we dealt with it. It was just very, very cold, and the producer had budgets on heat allowance.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't really too comfortable. He kept on. We'd come back. We were sleeping there. It's a barn, so it's a large barn. And
How long were you up there for?
About a week, I think. And he would sort of sneak back in and just check if we had the heaters on or not, because he is a...
Like dead of the night, like would walk in and just see if the...
Oh, yeah. Just popping in just to make sure, you know?
Like, hey, guys, brought you some beers and just want to make sure that... Yeah. It looks... We agreed at 72. It looks like it's at 78. We're just going to knock this...
No, he basically wouldn't allow it to be on in the first place. So. But it was one of those old, those really expensive electric ones, so...
But saying recording to tape, now having gone through the process... Do you say it's not worth it now, and that if you did do it all again, you would just go digital, or it was good to do? And
it's good to go. We were under the impression that we were listening to mixes from the tape sessions, and it wasn't until like a few months ago that the producer was like, these are all digital bouncers.
Oh.
And we're like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, yeah, your tape was shedding and it wasn't worth. And I'm like, well, you didn't tell us.
Oh.
You didn't let us know. But yeah, so in comparison, I think it was good exercise wise to have the 15-minute sort of blocks, where you sort of on and then you can sort of, it's more execution based performance for me, as in like we're rolling, as you got 15 minutes to do a job and then you can, reset. So that was good. The digital recording process I haven't really delved into too deeply in a big like sort of production sense. But having unlimited time sometimes can be dangerous,
Yeah, I'm a big believer that constraints really push creativity. So, recording to tape in the dead of winter probably is a little bit different than like summer, upstate, digital, just like long, lazy days type of vibe.
Yeah, although that sounds good.
Second one.
Next time.
Yeah. I do think that there is something about the cold that just really accelerates like hunkering down and really kind of diving into it, as opposed to like just a lazy, endless kind of meandering of time.
Yeah, it's time to show up and work, and that was good. That we got a good result because of that.
How many takes were you able to do per song, given the recording to tape?
I think we tried for like 4 or 5. You generally we had a clue. When we had a good idea when we had something we liked, we moved on. Maybe got another try, but then we generally just kind of kept it moving.
Got it. All right, well, let's hear another song.
All right.
What is the exercise to be done to this one?
The exercise to be done to this one is what? Cross-dressing.
Oh, excellent exercise.
That is a very tasty exercise.
Yeah.
When I met this baby,
Caroline, Kiki Caroline, Caroline, you're the one that I care about. His name was Billy Brown. He was the toughest motherfucker in town, with the shiny black boots and the silver bullet hanging around his throat. He took one look at me, rolled his eyes and smiled at me. He said, "You're Caroline, she's not my Caroline." Ooh. So I went down to the local muscle store and started lifting pound for pound to get my Caroline back. Oh, well, I packed on 20 pounds, the toughest muscle that I could find. And now it's time to find my Caroline. Caroline, Kiki Caroline, Caroline, you're the one that I can care about. Kiki Caroline, Caroline, Kiki Caroline, Caroline, you're the one that I can care about. Next day I went back to school, saw Billy Brown. He had his tongue down the throat of my Caroline. Well, I said, "Hey, oh, Mr. Billy Brown, I'm gonna fuck you in the ass with this muscle and keep feeding you the shit that comes on out." Caroline, Kiki Caroline, Caroline, you're the one that I can care about. Kiki Caroline, Caroline, Kiki Caroline, Caroline, you're the one that I can care about. Caroline, Kiki Caroline, Caroline, you're the one that I can care about.
Rad. Who's Caroline?
Ooh, Caroline is fictional character, I suppose. Caroline is a mess. Yeah, Caroline is she's a beautiful lady, but a lady of mystery and a lady of wealth, but she's a definite mess. Yeah.
Okay. So you have a show coming up August 12th. What can the audience expect?
Yeah, we're playing at Rough Trade August 12th. The audience can expect some entertainment. It should be a good night. We're really excited about it. We've got a fun show that we're excited to, bring.
Is there, if you could encourage the audience to participate in any way, how would you expect them, or what would you ask of them?
Well, I suppose. Yeah, what would you suggest, Ian?
Maybe some G-bangers. And
Yeah.
You can bring your own weights.
Bring weights, G-bangers, and Thigh Masters. We will have an aerobics prelude, and we will basically be be scrapping the show and working out.
It's the biggest hustle. There's actually just show up with just a suitcase full of weights.
Yeah, that is it. If you show up with a suitcase full of weights, we will let you in for nothing.
Oh,
and you can join us on stage.
That's a good deal. So I want to make sure that we have time to get one more song in. But when can people expect the record out and the film out, and how can they follow along to make sure they don't miss it?
Well, we're going to put the film and record out in full. So, late sort of September, October. And yeah, you can follow us online. We've got a bunch of websites that you can surf and gather important information. And we're basically, you can track us down on there, and then,
where is that?
Never miss a beat. Facebook, Instagram.
The name.
Oh, the name of the face.
What is it right now?
Jesus. We're on Facebook.
All right,
We've established that. We are. I think it's I Am WALTZ.
Okay.
It's the Facebook landing page.
And you can go down the rabbit hole from there.
You can definitely find it out. Or you can go to WALTZ for Life with a 4, not a F. LYFE, just to make sure you
totally miss it. You
showing
can't
up.
find it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks to Emily for helping set this up. Thank you to The Infatuation. Shout out to Darren, Anna, Ornella, Mom, Dad, Joe, whoever else is out there. What are you going to take us out with?
This is a new song called Water Park, and it features a fourth member, and she sounds like this. Attacks are coming back. Shark attacks are coming back. Another shark attack. Another shark attack. Shark attack. Come and take a dip in my plastic swimming pool. Blow it up in the backyard, just me and you. We can shark attack. We can shark attack. Shark attack. Hot panic fills the air. Terrified swimmers are everywhere. Water park. Water plot. Water park. Water plot. Another actor seems to have lost his leg. But apparently he's keen to sign on for the second season. China. Shark attacks
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.